Hi everybody, Mark here from Dingle Cookery School. Today's recipe is a fantastic red velvet cake. Such a beautiful cake, it's quite easy to do. So one of the easiest things to do when you go to bake, it's probably one of the best tips you'll ever learn. Everybody always weighs out your ingredients and checks and so on. The easiest thing to do is get your recipe and count the ingredients, and on the corner put a big 10 or whatever the number of the ingredients are. That'll always help you every single time. Just before you're ready to go, do I have 10, do I have 6, or whatever it is I'm cooking. So that's always a really good tip, and leave that on your recipe and so on. Now, so I'm going to get straight into it, and what we're going to do is we'll just start putting our dry ingredients in there. One thing that we're going to do is we're going to put it into a 20 centimeter tin, something like this. I have already oiled it, greased it, and put a little bit of parchment in there as well. That's just going to make sure that it doesn't stick, right? I've divided my ingredients down into dry ingredients and my wet ingredients. That's going to really help you. So we've got some plain flour. I'm going to pop that guy in there. Some cocoa powder. Got a little bit of soda in there, bicarbonate of soda, and some caster sugar. Okay, now we're just going to mix those around, just so that when they're mixed in there, they're going to be all evenly. So just mix them like that. You don't even need to do this in a food mixer or anything like that. Just mix them around until they look like that they've been evenly sort of dispersed right through. That's it. Now we're going to push those aside for a second, and we can see that that looks like it's nice and evenly mixed. Okay, next of all, we've got our wet ingredients. Now we just need to blend these together or mix these together. I'm going to use a food processor. We could just whisk them in a bowl, we could put them in a mixer with a whisk, or we could use something like a stick blender that you would for your soups and stuff as well. Why I like to put them into a blender like this one, it's just going to give it loads of air and it's going to help it rise. So I've got some buttermilk on in there, some eggs, and as always the recipe, you will find it just below the video itself. We've got some white wine vinegar, so make sure it's white wine vinegar and not distilled vinegar. Some vegetable oil, pop that all in there. Now I've got some red food colouring, so it is a red velvet cake. Pop that guy in, and this whole mixture is going to turn, it's going to turn really pink in a second, so don't worry about that. Get a little bit of vanilla in there as well with it. Now I'm just going to get rid of those, and I'm just going to blend all of that together. So the lid goes on there. Turn this guy on, and just blend it. So it looks like something like a milkshake that we're looking for there, but that's going to give it loads and loads of air. Okay, let's have a quick look at this. And there we go. There's already a nice bit of air there. Everything has been blended together. All right. Now I'm just going to pour this guy in here now. Look at that. Now don't be tempted to drink this. It's not a milkshake or it's not a drink. Okay, and let's just start mixing this together. So probably the hardest part of this recipe really is when you start, you just have to weigh everything out and prepare everything. That's probably the hardest part of it, and once you do that, and always take your time when you weigh ingredients. Now what we want to do is, we want to incorporate the dry into the wet, and how we always do that is get it in there, and we just fold that in just like that, okay? Round the edges and into the center, round the edges into the center, and not too aggressive because we're trying to keep all that nice air that we have in there. So let's get in, and always do it in stages as well, 2 or 3 stages. Same again, just mix that all around the edges and back in. And you will see the colour is slightly changing because when you're starting to mix it, you're going to find it wasn't as luminous as it was probably in the beginning. So look at it though, it looks really cool and it's such a luxurious cake. It's always a fabulous party piece as well. It looks well when it's finished. There we go, nice and easy. Don't be too aggressive with it here. We're trying to keep all of that air, and you can see there's plenty of air in that. Always pull it back into the center, and that'll let us know when we're ready to go with the next batch of flour or dry ingredients. If there's a huge pocket of flour there, we just keep folding in gently. Now I'm going to get the final one in there. So I've divided that into 3 goes as we're doing it. Same again. So always try and have a large bowl, a large spoon or spatula when you're folding it in. Nice and gentle, just like that. And that's it. Just keep doing that. It's nice and easy. It's also very calming. But don't be too aggressive. If you're too aggressive here, you'll knock all of that air that you put out of when you blended it together or mix it all together. Now, if we put that into our tins now, there's going to be lumps in it. So just keep going until you don't see any more traces of flour. And keep pulling it into the center. So that looks quite good. See, when we pull it back, there's no big pocket of flour. A big pocket of flour will sit there, if not. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and we're going to divide it into our tins. I'm going to start off with this guy and roughly try and get the mixture divided in half. Okay, we get another little bit in there. We'll come back, get that guy in there. I'm going to just change over and get my spatula in a second, just to get every little bit of that mixture out. So that's probably a nice bit for there. We'll just get another small bit. I'll just clean this down. Get all of that in there. So now we're going to pop this into the oven. My oven is at 180 degrees Celsius. I'm going to pop all of that in there. It's going to take us about 25 minutes to 30 minutes. Now, that depends on your oven. So it's very important that you check your oven and you know where you are with that. Okay? And so we'll set our timer. I'm going to set my timer to 25 minutes. We can check it just after that. It is a fan oven. Very carefully put them in there. Try not to bang them. Anything like that, it'll just knock a little bit of air out of them. Close the door gently. You've taken all that time to put air in there, so don't be too aggressive. Just clean up that little bit. And there as well. Okay. Now, so I'm going to set my timer for 25 minutes. Okay, 180 degrees Celsius. And after 25 minutes, I'll be able to have a quick look and see where it is. I'm going to use something like a cake skewer, or you could use a toothpick or a little knife, carefully into the center. If that comes out clean, you're good to go. Okay, now let's look at the finished product. Right, what I've done here, and again you'll find that the recipe is below. So I have a lovely cream cheese frosting on this. So it's full fat cream cheese. We've got some icing sugar or powdered sugar. We've got a little bit of butter there as well, a little bit of vanilla, and mix all of that together. Now, I would have, make sure that your butter is nice and soft. Also, it's no harm to get this into a mixer so that there's no lumps of butter, anything like that. Leave it into the fridge for half an hour, and then when your cake is finished, you just plaster it all over it, and it's in between it as well. So now we're going to open up a slice and show you what you're looking for. And it's such a party piece. It should be lovely and red on the inside. There's our cake here. We're going to tuck into it in a second. And it's going to be quite sweet because the frosting. Now, the good news with this is, if you don't want to make a big cake all the time, you can always make lovely muffins. So for your muffins, you would just put them into your muffin cases, muffin papers and cases in a tin, and then use the frosting over it. I would probably bake them for maybe about 15 to 20 minutes, but again, just check them and see how they are. So that's it, folks. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also check us out on Facebook, Dingle Cookery School, and our Instagram as well. So until next week, thank you very much and keep baking.